Recently, I watched this show called The Social Dilemma on Netflix. It's a documentary about how social media has recently evolved to get us to spend as much time on it as possible through the use of the algorithm. As I was watching the show, I kind of remembered some stuff that I learned in school, and it kind of overlapped with what the show was talking about, except that the show didn't really address it. I just wanted to share a little bit of what I know with you.
So we want to psychologically figure out how to manipulate you as fast as possible and then give you back that dopamine hit.
So you heard him mention dopamine. And for us to understand it, we have to look at the human brain. So this is a human brain, and when we zoom in, we'll see many of these brain cells, or as they're called, neurons. For simplicity's sake, here are two neurons. You might already know that there are electrical signals that passes through our brains. That electrical signal travels from one end of a neuron to another. You notice in this diagram there's a label called a synapse. The synapse is a gap or small space between two neurons. So in this animation, you can see the electrical signal traveling through one neuron, and as we zoom into that gap that I mentioned earlier, you'll notice these red things that are being transferred from the first cell to the second cell. These things are called neurotransmitters, which are naturally occurring chemicals that help transfer the electrical signal across the synapse. Dopamine is one of these neurotransmitters. There is a low level of dopamine being produced normally, and you can see that this animation only shows two dopamine molecules attaching themselves to the dopamine receptors on the second cell. However, when we get rewarded with anything like eating or exercising or having fun, there's an increase in production of dopamine shown here by 5 dopamine molecules, leading to a stronger electrical signal and the feeling of being rewarded. Consumption of narcotic drugs messes with this process, but I'm not going into that for this video.
We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because we get rewarded in these short-term signals, hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth. And instead what it really is fake, brittle popularity that's short-term and that leaves you even more, and admit it, vacant and empty before you did it. Because then it forces you into this vicious cycle where you're like, what's the next thing I need to do now? Because I need it back.
So this cycle that he mentioned is quite a simple cycle. You use social media, you receive attention and praise, and then you get that surge of dopamine, and then that vicious cycle continues. It's a very short cycle which makes us always come back to social media because of how easy it is for us to get that dopamine hit.
To wrap things up, the show actually offers a couple solutions to these issues. The first would be to turn off all notifications on your social media apps, and this prevents you from getting excited every time your phone vibrates or every time a notification comes in, and you're less likely to check your phone. Number 2 would be to go on a social media detox. So spending less time on social media actually disassociates your brain to the reward pathway that social media has to offer. So what you can do instead would be to spend more time doing things that you love outside of social media, like exercising, hanging out with friends, going out to eat, things that make you happy in general. That's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found this information insightful, and if you know anyone who might benefit from this information, I hope you share it with them. Thank you again for watching, and see you guys soon.